Welcome back to the channel. It snowed and it's cold and it sucks. Kansas City, sometimes you challenge why I live here. Let's get to the action. You're watching the Vasco Speed Performance YouTube channel. Good news is, race cars like to stay warm, and so do I. Sometimes Kansas City challenges me and I don't know why I live here, but we'll get through it. So on this week's episode, we're going to work on Deadpool, try to finish it up. We are going to work on the 5th Gen Camaro. We've got some things to do on it. I think the window net's the only thing left. The shop car back there is going to get some love. You never know what we're going to get done this week. Okay, update on the Blazer. So got the wiring cleaned up for the most part on the engine. I got the battery cables loosely ran over here for whenever we get our battery. I got the radiator in. I went ahead and made this radiator support piece. The other one that was on there was not going to cut it. Ran the throttle cable over, did that yesterday. Got the dipstick secured, got the tranny cooler lines ran. So I made a lot of progress on this yesterday. I had to make some filler plates for this, so I got to find the funky screws for this, but this will go in here and then your IAT sensor will go and plug in there, so that'll plug into there. So that's out. Had to modify these valve cover covers so that you don't see the coils. Had to get all that to get that work, but yeah, making progress. Got the steering column in, ran some wires over to the power bus block. Steering column looks pretty nice in there. He has this shifter deal here, and it's got overspray, all sorts of stuff on it. So I think I'm going to try and convince him to just use this column and then get rid of this goofy bar. So we'll see if we can convince him. But what I'm working on now is this cluster. So I've got an aftermarket cluster for it, but it doesn't have these turn signal pieces. So what I'm going to do is cut this piece up and this bezel up so that we get those little arrows. So we'll do that, and then we'll stick the cluster in there and see how everything's starting to come together. Okay, we're working on the Blazer, and I had Matthew pull this transmission crossmember off. So originally you would have had it mount down here, but somebody made a standoff because I assume because they lifted it and the angles were all weird. So this thing's just really big and bulky, and the problem with it is when you're trying to run headers, and this is where the drive shaft's going to go, it's already pretty close. Then you have the transmission crossmember in here, so it's going to get real dicey really quick. So what we're going to do is we are going to loosely run the exhaust probably to about back here is probably what our our goal. And then we're gonna stick the old drive shaft in so we kind of have an idea, and then we're gonna make our own tubular transmission crossmember. I don't even know if we're gonna end up using this mount. We're just gonna have to see how things go, but there's just not a lot of room. So I think we're gonna come up with the exhaust, come up and over and then down, and then maybe put an H in here or something, and then do the exhaust back. So we'll kind of make some progress on this and show you what we come up with. So the last thing we needed to do on Roy's 5th Gen Camaro was do a window net. I measured it up and had Stroud custom make us one. I opted to go with a vertical window net bracket. I like doing vertical window net brackets because they tend to give the driver a little bit more room for his arm when you're steering. So we discussed it with a customer and he was okay with that. Okay, we have the window net in, and there's a little lever right here. You just pull down on the lever, window net comes out, and it's got a nut that like welds into here, and this is on a Heim, so it has a good movement to it. And then it's just got like a ball valve up here. Whenever you want to connect it back up, just connect it like that. But again, the benefit to doing the vertical is you can kind of see that there is a bend in this, which helps keep the window net out. I also bent this one just to give you a little bit more room for like your shoulders and stuff. You don't have to do it, but that's just kind of one of the things that I like to do whenever I do a vertical net, just give you a little bit more room. But that was the last thing we had to do. One other thing we ended up doing on this is we ended up putting some stoppers on here because when the swing outs would go, they'd go past it. So we just made these little tabs and welded those onto the door bars, and that should be good to go. So this thing's all wrapped up and it's headed back to Arkansas. Okay, I'm installing these brackets for the limiters on Deadpool. So they'll go down and just bolt on like that. So I got this one first pass welded on, and I gotta do that one too. So I'm gonna get those knocked out, and then made pretty good progress in the firewall. So once I get it down, I'll show you some progress on it. Okay, CNC just came out and pulled the Lexan glass for us. One thing we noticed is up here in the corners is actually coming loose. So it's probably delaminated up in here along with this side. So the problem with this is this black area is like a primer, and that primer is put on by Optic Armor, and if you try to put your own on there, it doesn't usually go on as good. So probably gonna end up getting a new windshield for that. But what I need to do is I need to cut the cowl out. So I went ahead and measured and marked this, and to me this does not look good at all. I would like it to be straight. So that's just going off the measurements. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably come in and cut it straight, cut the bottom out, and then try to go straight up from that and see if we can make it look a little bit better. But yeah, it looks kind of goofy not being straight. So we'll figure it out. But I'm gonna set up the time lapse and we'll get after it. Okay, update, change of plans. The first one I did I wasn't really happy with because whenever I'd stop the die, it went over a little far. So this one was my second design. A little bit better. You know, you got a little bit there, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So there's a little imperfection. But basically, I went ahead and made this piece here. And that's gonna fill in because the firewall's not exactly flat. So I tried getting cocky and I tried making this all out of one piece, and I realized, hey, let's just stay in our lane. So this piece I cut out and I put an edge on it, and so this is what the glass will seal against. So right now I'm using the shrinker stretcher to get it to follow this contour, and I'll clean coat it on here. Plus that'll help flatten this piece out from oil cannon on me. So we will do that and continue to make some progress. What are you doing, Matthew?
I was gonna make up something funny, but then I lost it.
Oh, did I come at you too quick? You want me to retake it?
No, you're good.
We can always retake it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's too late now.
Okay. But if I don't post this, then nobody would know it was a retake.
You're not wrong.
So, in order to do these brakes on the rear, we need to do a C-clip illuminator. And in order to do a C-clip illuminator, we need to cut this flange off, right? Or
yeah, you leave like an eighth of an inch.
An eighth of an inch. Okay.
Yeah.
So Matthew's going in here with this fancy slide hammer puller deal that I found in one of the boxes, and he's going to pull this bearing out.
Hopefully.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah.
probably should have safety glasses.
Safety.
Look, boom! Look at that. Have you ever seen anything come out that easy?
No. That was probably not a good thing.
That was a sexual term.
Oh, jeez. Them pineapples get you every time.
Yeah,
You know?
I guess. Wow, that came out really nice.
Yeah, I was surprised that came out that
Hey,
easy.
it's all about having the right tool for the right job.
It's true.
That's what she said. The front TBM's on here. They're looking fresh. I got to get a set of lug nuts for it because they have bigger lug nuts for these, so not a huge deal there. So we got to do that. And then he went ahead and cut off this lip, so we're doing a C-clip eliminator on the rear, and he's going to work on getting the rear brakes on this thing.
So we've got the Chevelle up in the air here, and we're working on some rear suspension stuff. The customer wanted us to put some new lower control arms and some new coil springs. As you can tell, these coil springs are probably a little wore out since they had these little spacers, stiffeners in there. So we've got new coil springs and then new control arms from Original Parts Group that we're gonna put on this thing. And they're reinforced control arms, which is cool. So we'll get these old ones out and throw some new parts on this thing.
Okay, so I'm working on making the transmission mount. This is just a spacer tube. I put it in there with those squares so that I can get a measurement for it or how far I want to go. So what I did was I took this tube here, 1 5/8 chromoly 085 wall. I notched it, so I'm going to stick it in there and kind of figure out where I want it, and then I'll figure out my transmission mount, my transmission mount bracket. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So I'll set the time lapse up and we'll show how we do that. Okay, so here's what I came up with the mid plate. So I decided to center the engine, which creates some issues. But what I did was measured from this side over here to that side over there, came up with that measurement, measured the mid plate, and that told me that I need this much hangover on this side and the same on that side to center it. So I just designed this little bracket, radius the edge here to make it look clean in case you were to put your hand on there, and this side will be welded to the car so you left it square. I also I like to put a gusset on there, but the point of this gusset is one, to help strengthen it, but it's also in case it falls down, then it's going to set on this lip. So that's something I just like to do because I think it makes it easier. So let's see how this thing fits in there. Okay, so this will end up getting welded onto here and welded across there, and then that should work for that. I still don't know where this is going to go. It may go down, it may go up. We'll have to kind of see once we get the engine stabbed in here, but just trying to make progress on it and continue to move forward, because if you don't make progress on a project car, it just ends up sitting and you never do anything. Ask me how I know. So turned out pretty cool, starting to make some progress on this thing. I'm going to actually work on making another one of these plates and moving this over a little bit, and then we will test fit it on Mike's car, because he's going to want this set up on his, and kind of go from there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the front end, mainly because I need to somewhat get the engine in there and see where it's going to set and see how this is all going to play out. So one thing I need to do is I need to cut these frame rails down. They're rough cut right now. So my intent is to make the bar come through here and kick and go down. But I'm probably going to put a bar that goes from this corner up in here when the bar comes through to down here somewhere. So I ideally would like to leave something here. That being said, you can see it's a little rusty behind here, but this piece here is not flat. It goes up at a weird angle, and this one's somewhat flat. So I think what I am going to do, I think what I'm going to do is design a square that'll go in here on the plasma table. And then I'm going to cut this piece out on both sides, probably cut this lip off here also, and then make a flat piece. But give me enough, because you'll probably put an 1.25 inch tube down through here. So I'm going to give you about, I don't know, 1.5 inches from back here forward. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut this off about 1.5 inches, cut this out, make my plate, and then I'll probably make my temporary frame rails, just tack them out here because I don't know where they're going to land. And then once I get that done, then we can work on getting the engine in here and seeing how everything's going to go. I might even tack it and drop the K-member out and then just work on it that way. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to set up the time lapse and we'll get to making some progress on this thing. Okay, so for these frame rail caps, I designed this. So this has got an 1 5/8 hole, but I actually had to make it a little bit bigger because when you cut with a plasma, it actually has it's not perfectly flat. It's got like a little bit of angle. If it was a laser, you could, but I don't have a laser yet. One day. So anyways, came up with this little plate and cut the piece out from the top because I didn't like the way it looked, and we'll be able to weld this along the shock tower itself. Then what I designed was this plate, and this plate will actually go on the back side, and it's a little smaller, as you can see, so it should sit inside that channel. And so what I'll end up doing to this is welding this plate to this, and then when you stick your tube in, it'll give a recess to keep your tube centered in here. But let's get these tacked up, and then we'll see how they look on the car. Okay, so here it is welded up. Basically it's just a backer plate that's a little bit, so it's got a little bit of an edge there and an edge there, and then I just TIG welded across the top and across the bottom. But then you have a recess so that your tube will fit in there perfectly. And then, oh, this is this side. So then this will just slide in here. I'll probably have to cut some of it out and clean some of that out, but it'll slide right in like that. And then you can just weld along your edge. You got a good, decent part to weld to it. And like I said, I think I'm gonna cut this lip off here. So I'll probably cut this off next, clean all this stuff out, and then probably blow some of that rust out of there too. So, but yeah, so I don't know if this is the best idea, but I like the idea of being able to center it, but I also wanted to have something in case you did get into an accident, it'll push against this plate also and just help a little bit, so. Okay, so I've got these end caps pretty much welded in there for the most part, but you'll notice these frame rails, they run straight with the frame rails in the factory, and the factory ones actually come out and then they kick straight. So what I did was I measured the center of this and the center of that, and it's 34 inches, I believe. So I came up with this idea. So I just took a piece of angle iron, drilled a hole in it, and these are these are tube clamps. And so what I'm going to do is I drilled them at 34 exactly like they are up here, and then that'll hold up there, and then I'll move the angle iron back here, and that should keep them parallel, running the same direction. And then all I have to do is level them this way. So I'll set up the time lapse, and I'm not going to fully weld these in because there's a good chance that I might end up taking them out, so I'll probably just end up tacking them, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so that bar is level, that bar is level. And I know that they're both at 34 because of my spacer out here and the recess that I made up there, so they should be parallel. So I think we're good. Now, I left these long and I just tacked them because when we do our tube front end, it's gonna go through here, so we'll end up probably cutting this off and redoing this procedure, but at least we kind of have an idea of where they need to be. But I needed this bar on here so that I could place my motor plate for the front part of the motor. So that's what I did that for. So now that that's done, I think I might try to maybe figure out how to get the motor in there, and then kind of start mocking some stuff up. And once the engine starts going in, once the cage starts going in, this thing's gonna be rocking and rolling, and I know it's gonna make me pretty motivated to get going on it. So I'm excited for this. So. Okay, so I got it loosely stabbed in there. I'm going to have to probably shave a little bit off of my mid plates brackets just to make it do what I want it to do. But the cool thing about the mid plate bracket is it's pretty much centering it in there. So then what I can do is hopefully figure out and make sure it's in there the direction I want it to be. And once it is, then what I need to do is I need to make a bracket that comes off of here that goes to both sides for the motor plate. So that'll be interesting. I was kind of hoping they would have been a little lower, the bars, or the engine a little higher, but it is what it is. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. So they have it bolted here on these two bolt holes and these two bolt holes. So I'll just have to make something that'll attach to this tube that'll come down here, and I'll just tack weld it and hold the engine in place for now. And then once we figure out where we do the tube front end, we can go from there. However, it is nice that I did this ahead of doing this bar, because when this bar comes through here, if I was to land right here and it would be in the way of this motor plate, we'd be up a pickle. So, but yeah, hey, it fits in there. It looks pretty good. You'll notice there's not a lot of room over on this side, but at the same time, there would have been a lot less room over here had I not centered the engine. So, but yeah. And I believe the pan is on the factory K-member, which isn't a huge deal. But I think that's gonna work. Let me come over here and look this side. And so you'll see this is where the steering comes through. Now this might be an issue here, because whenever I do this steering, I welded this sphere in here, and that sphere might actually have to go back in the original spot. I don't know. I was just trying to give as much room for the steering with the motor plate and mid plate and header situation. So yeah, I think we'll make it work. So making progress. Okay, we got it in there. It's on a jack, but it's at the 2-degree angle. It's centered side to side, so that's good. But this gives you a real idea of why we needed to do this whole brake reverse master cylinder situation, because you hardly have any room over here. And could you imagine if you had a master coming out, it would hit the valve cover or something like that. So pretty cool that it's all starting to come together. So I haven't decided if I'm going to keep these at this height here. I think I am, and then we'll just make something come down to those motor plate brackets. So it's turning out pretty good. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. So as always, I appreciate everybody coming by the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.